It's time to double down on support for Ukraine. Rishi Sunak urges world leaders to send the most advanced weapons available.
To win the war, Ukraine needs more artillery, armoured vehicles and air defence. So now is the moment to double down on our military support.
Meanwhile, the PM meets with the EC president but downplays hopes of a deal on the Northern Ireland Protocol. Also, a former Premier League footballer is amongst the 46,000 now confirmed dead in the Turkey-Syria earthquake.
Martinelli has an open goal. He's celebrating before he scored it.
Not one, but two late goals in a dramatic thriller at Aston Villa. And more finders might not be keepers under plans to redefine treasure.
This is ITV News with Lucy Watson.
Good evening. The Prime Minister has called on world leaders to double down on their support for Ukraine in a pivotal moment for the country's freedom. Rishi Sunak has been speaking at a global security summit in Munich. In his speech, he urged the international community to step up their support for Kyiv to ensure lasting peace. To do that, he wants Western allies to send the most advanced weapons to the country to secure its long-term future. Our global security editor, Rohit Khatri, reports now from Munich.
For protesters outside the conference venue, their message was not only for Vladimir Putin. It was for the leaders inside who agree with most of what they say, but are still undecided about what more they should do and when. For the first time, Rishi Sunak met the US Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Prime Minister, it is good to meet you.
But behind those pleasantries lie delicate questions about the right time, the right amount of support. But the UK seemed less cautious today than some of its allies.
To win the war, Ukraine needs more artillery, armoured vehicles and air defence. So now is the moment to double down on our military support. And that's why the United Kingdom will be the first country to provide Ukraine with longer-range weapons. And it's why we're working with our allies to give Ukraine the most advanced air defence systems and build the air force they need to defend their nation.
Still no firm commitment, though, to supply planes to Ukraine, as it has suggested. But this optimism from its chief diplomat suggests there is more being said behind the scenes.
What is your understanding of the British position? Will they deliver planes to Ukraine, directly or indirectly? And if so, when?
Ukraine will receive planes. It's a matter of time and procedure. It will take more time than tanks, we understand that, but the very kind of logic, the basic sense of how the situation evolves will take all of us to the decision on planes.
From the town square to the conference hall itself, a consensus is building among some allies that a level of military support unthinkable a few weeks ago might now be inevitable. Rohit Khatri, ITV News, Munich.
Well, on the sidelines of that conference, Rishi Sunak met with European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen in Munich today. It followed his visit to Belfast yesterday, which had sparked hope that a deal on the Northern Ireland Protocol could be imminent. Well, our political correspondent Harry Horton is here. Harry, the PM was downplaying such speculation about that today, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. And talks to reform this deal have been going on for more than a year now. The current arrangement is politically divisive for a whole host of reasons, not least because of trade barriers from goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. Now, there's been lots of speculation in recent days, as you say, that a new deal could be imminent. Leaders in Northern Ireland yesterday were making positive noises about the prospects of a new deal. This morning, the Prime Minister met Ursula von der Leyen in Munich. Downing Street described that meeting as positive, said there had been very good progress to find solutions. However, when the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was asked about it later in the day, he was a bit more downbeat in his assessment.
We have not resolved all these issues. No, there isn't a deal that has been done. There is an understanding of what needs to be done. It's the issues that I outlined, and we're working through them hard, and we will work through them intensely with the EU. But we are by no means done. There is no deal that is done. There's work to do, and that's what we will set about doing.
Now, this is a really big deal. The Northern Ireland Assembly has been out of action for more than a year because of disagreements over the existing arrangement. There are lots of backbenchers within Rishi Sunak's own party who will be combing through the details of any potential deal. I think the message from the Prime Minister today is clearly that he's trying to be calm and patient and get this right.
Harry, thank you. A fortnight since massive earthquakes struck Syria and Turkey, the number of confirmed dead continues to grow. More than 46,000 people are now known to have died across both countries. And this morning it was confirmed that the former Premier League footballer Christian Atsu was among them. Peter Smith reports now from the collapsed apartment block where his body was found.
Footballer Christian Atsu was reported missing almost a fortnight ago when his apartment block collapsed in the earthquake zone. This morning his body was recovered. He has been confirmed dead. The 31-year-old winger had been capped 65 times for his native Ghana. He had also been in the English football, signing for Chelsea in 2013, enjoying a period on loan at Everton and Bournemouth, but his most successful time was with Newcastle United. Those clubs have posted their own tributes on their club's social media. He only moved to Turkey a year ago, and where he was living is a particularly controversial part of the earthquake zone. The Renaissance residence here in southeast Turkey was billed as luxury living, but investigators are on the ground examining the foundations, examining the building materials, trying to find out why this building completely collapsed when buildings all around are still standing. Turkey's President Erdogan, in the face of criticism, said the earthquake was destiny's plan, but investigators want to know how much the fate of the buildings here was determined by destiny and how much was determined by the quality of construction.
Peter Smith reporting there from Antakya in Turkey. Now, despite the increasing number of bodies being recovered there every day, there are still rare, remarkable moments of joy when survivors are found amidst the rubble. Today, a family of 3 was brought out alive from under a collapsed block of flats in the village of Kanalti. Chloe Keedy has more.
It's impossible to imagine the trauma that this man's been through. He has somehow survived for 13 days trapped under the wreckage of his apartment block. And he indicates that there are 2 more behind him, his wife and his 12-year-old son. Their rescue after 296 hours seems nothing short of a miracle, but their joy doesn't last long. The 12-year-old boy lived long enough to escape, but died of his injuries in hospital. The hope of finding any more survivors is ebbing away. 17-year-old Taha Erdem still can't believe he's one of them. This is what's left of his family home. It collapsed when the earthquake hit. As the aftershocks kept coming, Taha was so convinced he was going to die that he recorded this video message to say goodbye. We are still shaking, he says. Death, my friends, comes at a time when one is least expecting it. There are many things that I regret. May God forgive me all of my sins. But 2 hours later, he was rescued and eventually reunited with his parents, who had thought he was dead. The world was mine at that moment, says Taha's mum. I have nothing, but I have my kids. This family's story is at least one glimmer of good news in a place where hope is rapidly running out. Chloe Keedy, ITV News.
More than 2,000 homes are still without power in Scotland after Storm Otto lashed Aberdeenshire. Vans serving hot food and drinks were sent into some of the affected towns. High winds caused most of the damage. And Sir Jim Radcliffe and his company Ineos have confirmed their bid to buy Manchester United. In a statement, the company pledged to invest in the club to make it #1 in the world. The other bidder for the team is Qatari Sheikh Hassim bin Hamad Al Thani. The twist in the Premier League title race today. Leaders Manchester City dropped points in a 1-1 draw at Nottingham Forest. And Arsenal are now back on top after the game of the season so far, beating Aston Villa 4-2, thanks to 2 goals in stoppage time. Chris Scudder was watching.
You could barely have scripted this breathless classic. Arsenal's faltering title hopes were hit by an early Villa goal. Oh my, as Forrest Gump would have said, but Villa fan Tom Hanks' joy was short-lived, though he couldn't have helped admire a beauty from Bukayo Saka. It was end-to-end stuff, and Arsenal were behind again to Philippe Coutinho. After losing top spot to Man City, Arsenal could not afford another defeat. But they dug deep in dramatic fashion. This was a blockbuster in the Hollywood tradition, and Tom Hanks was almost out of his seat again. Villa so close to making it 3-2. Instead, the drama came at the other end, in stoppage time. An own goal by Argentina's World Cup final shootout hero Emi Martinez. He'd been accused of gamesmanship that day, and now he was running back like Forrest Gump, upfield and out of his goal, while Gabriel Martinelli made it 4-2. Arsenal are back on track. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And England's cricketers are on course for victory in the first test against New Zealand. Stuart Broad clean-bowled 4 of New Zealand's top 6 batsmen in their second innings, chasing a target of 394 to win. New Zealand are teetering on 63 for 5. And finally, plans are afoot to widen the definition of what constitutes treasure in the UK. An increase in the number of metal detectorists is causing concern that important artefacts could be snapped up by private buyers and not museums. So the government plans to tighten the rules to save more important fines for the nation, as Alex Izzat explains.
Silently sweeping the fields, hopeful for a treasure which could lie below. For metal detectorists like John, it's a hunt to find history.
Finding history, digging it back up again. People don't normally get to see it often, do they? So if it is something that a museum wants that someone digs up, then it's got to go there for everyone to see, hasn't it? Because this will go to my house and not a lot of people see it.
What happens to the item depends on what it is. Museums can get first refusal on treasure, defined as a find more than 300 years old and made of precious metal or part of a collection. But this strict definition has meant some historical items have been sold to the highest bidder.
And we've sadly seen some examples of things which have slipped through the net because of the definition at the moment, things like the Roman helmet discovered in Crosby Garrett in Cumbria. We think items like that ought to be in museums where they can be shared with future generations.
To conserve more artefacts, the definition may soon change to any objects over 200 years old which could be connected to local or national history and would apply to all those inspired by the TV show.
Most people never find anything that actually falls into treasure category. If you find something like a Roman coin, it has very little value, but when you think the last person to hold that was Roman, that blows my mind. It's not the value of it, it's the history of it.
Whether it's a gold coin or a piece of tin, it can be truly surprising what can be found below your feet. Alex Izzat, ITV News.
And that is it for now. I'm back with the late news at 10:20. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.